Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, still recovering a little bit from a sinus infection, bear with me. And today we're going to be reviewing part 1 of Image of the Fendahl. Now this is only the second or third time I've seen this story. I've seen it once, I know, and I think I might have seen a reactor react to it one time. I really like this one. This does a really good job with atmosphere and, of course, being a more horror, scary themed story, which would, of course, slot right in with the Hinchcliffe era, even though this takes place the season after that in season 15. I really enjoyed everything going on in part 1. I like the fact that the location footage at night is shot on film. It gives it this kind of rawness to it, this grittiness to it that if it had been shot on videotape outside, it just wouldn't have. It has this much more raw feeling to it, especially with the guy who's kind of just hitchhiking or walking along outside. You can tell he's a little nervous. He's kind of whistling, kind of keep noise. When he screams in fright, that's done really well. I love that whole scene there when the skull first starts activating and Thea is looking at it. She's kind of mesmerized by it. It's that whole sequence there when it's cutting back and forth between Fendahl and his assistant working in the lab, Thea being in the enthrall of the skull, and the guy walking in the woods. How it's intercutting between that is very, very good horror, very unnerving, very edge of your seat. And when you're seeing Thea's face kind of superimposed over the skull, you know something big is happening there. It's almost like she's mesmerized, in a trance, enthralled. I really enjoyed that whole sequence. It really stood out to me. I was like, I've got to talk about that when I review this, because that whole sequence is just directed so well. Really, really good. So you actually get a little bit of time before the doctor even really shows up. I enjoyed the bit at the beginning with him and Leela and K9 talking. You get a lot of the doctor talking about the TARDIS, which he refers to as she and her, which really stands out to me because you wouldn't see that these days. Something about referring to like a car, or Kirk referring to the Enterprise as a she and a her. You don't see that as much now. I guess that's some form of, Lord knows what they label it nowadays, misogyny. I don't know. A lot of people use words they don't know what they mean these days. So it's nice, especially with all of the politics going on in Doctor Who now, which feel a little forced at times. I love the fact that we get kind of an extended sequence there with the Doctor talking about the TARDIS and how he's saying she and her, and you can tell the affection the Doctor has for the TARDIS in that speech. I really enjoyed that. The guest actors, I like the guy playing Fendahl a lot. I like Thea. The actress playing Thea is really good. Now, the guy playing kind of Thea's, I don't know if it's her boyfriend or husband or whatever it is, the guy who finds the dead body in the woods, he's okay. And then Fendahl's kind of right-hand man, David was that his name, he's okay. They're not doing a lot for me, but they're all right. I did love how Fendahl is quick to point out when the other guy comes in, like, I found a body. Are you sure? What kind? A dead one? How he, of course, immediately wants to report it to the police, and how Fendahl talks him down. Your work here is going so well. Everyone's going to remember your work. You might get nominated for a Nobel Prize. How Fendahl keeps making, bringing him into it. Like, if we bring everybody in, this could mess up your work, your chance of Nobel Prize. I got to give Fendahl credit the way he smooths everything over there. That's a smooth talker. I do like the backstory, learning about Fendahl, how he worked in electronics, how he's one of the richest men in the world, what kind of led him to this point where he's studying the skull. The effect of the skull is really good, the glowingness of the skull. There's something when you just see the skull sitting there, it still looks spooky, scary, unnerving. And when it starts glowing, it's almost like it has a life of its own. That's done really well. And you wonder at the end how much of Thea going to mess with that machine is her scientific curiosity, and how much of it is the skull already on some level starting to affect her a bit without her maybe even realizing it. And again, you see that superimposed image of her face over the skulls, which is a really cool effect. I enjoy Tom talking at times with Leela. I love how different the Fourth Doctor and Leela are. It's one of the reasons I like their pairing a lot. Leela's one of my favorite companions. And like when she's threatening to kill the guard, she's like, Tom's like, no, don't do that. Why not? Well, that would upset the dog. I just love that flippant way he says that. And then he looks at her and is like, look, you've got to stop trying to kill people. Why? It's going to get us in a lot of trouble. I love that. I love the Fourth Doctor. It's like he knows something serious going on, but he still has this little bit of a flippant humor into it and how he does it. And I love that about him. One of the things I love about the Fourth Doctor is he's very alien. So very alien. And Tom, which is just, let's be honest, it's Tom being Tom, and I love it. I love watching my favorite Doctor at work. I do. Again, the location work looks really good, but I like the studio sets as well. They're very effective here. I wasn't familiar with the director. I made a mental note because I was so impressed with the directing of Part 1 that I was curious if it was one of the more well-known Doctor Who directors from Classic Who that had directed it. So I waited for the end credits to play so I could check the director. I did not recognize this guy. I think his name was Gary or George or something like that. See, I can't even remember. I'm not familiar with him. I don't know if he did any more Doctor Who or not. But he's very effective here. I did notice this one was script edited by Robert Holmes. Because I know Bob he script edited about half the season before he left and Anthony Reed took over. And this is definitely Bob Holmes, which is good. You know, I like when Bob Holmes is there to go, this story needs some tweaking. Because if Bob Holmes sees a story that needs tweaking, Bob Holmes gets to tweaking. But it really is, there's something, and it's in the writing, the performances, and the directing combine really well here to give you this sense of oddness to this story. Something is slightly off kilter. There's something unnerving going on, something like a giant shadow kind of looming over everything, that something is coming, something dark and deadly is coming. And that is all done very well in substance. I was really impressed with Part 1. I was really, really impressed with it. It captures, much like Horror of Fang Rock, it captures the horror of the story well. I know I'm watching a spooky, scary Doctor Who. So I was really, really impressed with Part 1. I think I covered most stuff I wanted to cover. The cliffhanger was pretty nice too. Not the best cliffhanger ever, but it was nice. I liked it. So that's Part 1 of Image of the Fendahl. I'd like to know what you think of Part 1 of this story. Comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. And of course, down in the description, links to the Patreon, links to the Amazon wish list, links to the Amazon UK wish list, P.O. Box in case there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I do appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It does make a difference. Most importantly, thank you for watching.